All these obscure Sonic games that are crying and long overdue for a remaster. But then Sonic Team goes, let's do the same shit we did for this, but with a game that qualifies a remaster even less.
Mario in the gang, you probably know my name. And so we start the game, jumping high, ducking low, from the sky to the ocean. How come Peach can't stop being stolen? Need the Firefly or Star Power now for Bowser. Koopa Troopa, Super Goomba, soon to lose a life. It's me and Peach and Luigi, so you know, stop and don't rock and roll. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
I'm honestly convinced that Sega and Sonic Team don't even listen to the feedback that we give them, because good luck finding that one person who asked for a Sonic Generations Ultimate. Anyway, ever since the Sonic Generations Remaster announcement was leaked, not revealed, leaked, because in case you all didn't know, the website for the game was leaked on Twitter/X for some reason, cluing us in that this was real. After that happened, I knew we were so screwed. Now, before Sonic fans start drama with me before actually watching the whole thing to get my full perspective, get your ass back in your seats and make your ears useful for once. So, as of right now, I'm not really feeling anything towards the remaster. I'm not excited, nor do I think it'll suck. I do hope that the latter ends up happening here, though. I mean, how do you expect me to be excited for it? Generations was already a fine game, and like I said earlier, it did not qualify for a remaster, but I'll get into that later. Besides, that PlayStation trailer gave us little to no details, and I know it's a teaser, but come on! It's the Sonic Frontiers 2021 teaser all over again. Not only that, but I'm over here praying that Shadow is actually well written here, and actually has a reason to start beef with Sonic. I mean, what can they really do with Shadow in Generations? He was just there in the game waiting for you to box him. But apparently there's enough they can do with him to have his name on the title of the game, which is the worst name for a remaster I've ever heard of. I even refuse to call the game by its name, and instead just refer it to as Sonic Generations Ultimate, because I have no idea where their minds were at when coming up with that title. But back to Generations. Now, I don't hate the game at all. It definitely earns a spot in my top 10 favorite Sonic games, and yours as well. But in my humble opinion, I don't like the game as much as most people do. For one, it's one of the most easiest Sonic games, except for the random jump in difficulty and stupidity during the Time Eater boss fight.
Looks like a homing shot. Be careful, Sonic! That looks like a homing shot! That looks like a homing shot!
Plus, the game is way too generous with its S ranks. I find it funny how difficult it would be for someone to get a rank that's not S in the game. D rank is ironically the hardest rank to get unless you do it on purpose or if you're just that stupid. Not only that, but Generations was also the start of many bad outcomes for the series as a whole. Gens and Colors were the start of games being too easy, having no story, and instead just being the most basic of basics with its storytelling that you can possibly find in any video game, rather. Mario Galaxy did a far superior job with its storytelling than these games ever will. Gens was also the start of the random split of brands that Sonic has, being the classic and the modern era. I can't speak for everyone, but I honestly prefer when there was just one interpretation of Sonic, that being his current modern design. But now that Gens exists, there's this random division in between the brand of Sonic that doesn't really sit right with me whenever I think about it. Like back in the 2000s, there was no split division between the two Sonics at the time. Classic Sonic was just how Sonic happened to look like in the 90s, which modern Sonic was just a new coat of paint that looks way better and cooler, if you ask me. To put it simple, they were meant to be the same character. Design changes for the characters were never meant to be canon. But now it's like there are two versions of the main character existing in our hands now, which pretty much is the case. No offense to the classic fans, the two of them out there that exist, but I'm simply not a fan of this particular decision. I like Sonic just being one character in the game universe, not counting the movies or any other media that isn't the games. Now for the biggest problem that Generations has caused. It started the trend that the franchise won't stop forcing into almost every new installment, that being rehashing stages from past games, mostly the ones used in Generations. Ugh, I'm so tired of this. And I'm sure as hell not the only one that is. At the time, it was a wonderful treat to go back and revisit stages from past Sonic games reimagined, and to play as old school Sonic that my sister grew up playing with on Game Gear back in the day, and of course the current Sonic that I still and will always play with to this day. Nowadays, the classic throwback nonsense is as common as green on leaves. It's something we see in practically every new game these days. I imagine the general public is even tired of the constant rehash the current games seem to be addicted with. And it really didn't help that Frontiers borrowed some of the level design from Generations, and now we're getting a full-on remaster for Gens? Do they want us to like these games or not? Look, as much as I love Frontiers, cyberspace was truly the weakest part of the entire game despite only being a bit of the game, and I wish that wasn't the case. They could have made some interesting levels based on the architecture and ways to expand the design of the Starfall Islands. But nope, we get Green Hill, Chemical Plant, Sky Sanctuary, and some random highway stage, which to this day I still don't know if it's supposed to be referencing something, or if it's meant to be its own thing. Not to mention, Superstars literally just came out, which was overall another classic throwback game despite being completely original with its levels. Classic fans got the original treatment before the modern fans did. Superstars also had one of the better looking versions of the classic model. Now they're going back to Generations, which had one of the worst looking versions of classic Sonic. Also, can you tell me how many people actually go back and play Generations if it wasn't for a mod or something?
Exactly.
While I do have fun playing the game from time to time, it just doesn't really have any huge appeal on me. It's not a game I think about all the time. The only reason why people say it was the last good 3D Sonic game before Frontiers is because some portions of the modern gameplay mixed with the mods. Not a single person talks about the bare-bones story or anything relating to the game itself. In fact, the more I go and replay Generations, the more I realize that we absolutely do not need a remaster of the game. Re-releasing games on future hardware is fine, but to give a game that still gets support from fans a remaster is more than anyone can bargain for. And what I'm about to say right now is not just me talking, it's an actual fact. Sonic Unleashed is the true Sonic game that deserves a remaster. The game looks way too good for its time and was made way too early, only for it to do poorly at the time due to critics, and it took until Forces for most people to realize that the game is a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. It really confuses me. Why are the only games the devs seem to care about nowadays the classic and modern games? The games that some fans don't seem to care about that much. Look, I love me some Colors, Generations, and, to an extent, Lost World, Burn Forces with a Torch, but these games were for the most part products of their time. Colors and Generations were made simply just to get approved scores from critics and non-Sonic fans. Re-releasing games that were already approved by critics and fans a long time ago feels so redundant and makes those games really lose their glow. All I want is more original content. We've been getting nothing but classic content and nostalgic content for the past several years, and most of us are tired of it. Just focus more on making new content and new games instead of just cashing in on nostalgia for the upteenth time. How do you hope for Sonic to move forward in the future if he's gonna remain stuck in the past for years to come? Alright, let's try and be positive about this. If you're gonna remaster/remake the past games, why not do it with the more obscure games? Fans constantly clamor for the SA1 and SA2 remakes, and while I do think those games are slightly overrated, I would rather have those than a remaster of a game that I've practically played more than 100 times. And here are some other ideas: the Advanced Trilogy, the Rush games, Rivals 1 and 2, Battle, the Riders Duology, f***ing Pocket Adventure, the most overlooked game in the series. Now I'm just debating whether or not I should spend my hard-earned money on a game that I've already owned for years just to try out a new side mode. I mean, if Nintendo can pull it off with 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, then there's no excuse for Sega not to do the same. So yeah, until we get more info regarding either the main game or the Shadow bit, I'm not feeling anything towards the Gens remaster. If you're excited for the game, by all means, go for it, try it out, especially if you haven't played the original Generations. Though, to be real, you weren't missing much. Alright, everyone, well that'll be it from me, so be sure to let me know your thoughts below, and as always, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys next time.